Hello, welcome to Friday Leadership Deep Dive. My name is Monica Vegalam, and I am an executive and a leadership coach. This is the show where I discuss topics for leadership and career success. Um, I did that thing which I do every week where I have my LinkedIn open and then that distracts me from what I'm actually saying. So, this is the show where I discuss leadership and personal development from the lens of ontological leadership and developmental psychology and Eastern spiritual wisdom. So, welcome and thanks for being here. And I'm sorry that I didn't get a chance to announce this show today um, in advance. And also, I'm a little bit half an hour later than I usually do this. Well, better late than never. So, if you're tuning in, thank you so much for hanging out. I have an exciting topic for today, and I always say that because I'm always excited by the topics that I talk about. Today, I want to introduce a series I'm doing about decision making and how to make great decisions. This is important no matter what you're doing, and especially for people, professionals, leaders, and entrepreneurs who deal with a lot of complexity and ambiguity when they set out to achieve big goals. And decision making becomes a very important skill. When I say skill, I have a little bit of resistance to calling decision making as skill because there are lots of things involved in decision making, which is your capacity, your perspective, and also the skill of deciding something and taking action towards it. So, okay, what we'll do today is we are going to go over how generally people make decisions and the risk in those approaches. And I propose an alternative way to decisions. And I'll also talk about why it's important, why this other alternative way is important. Um, the secret is that the other alternative way is actually about understanding your own psychology. So making decisions is like the meta skill. Let's call that a meta skill. Okay. So when developing the meta skill of making great decisions is super important because we are constantly making decisions in our life every day. Like I make decisions about what I choose to eat for breakfast. Like, let's say I get up late one day and I'm really running late, so then I have to quickly decide, okay, what breakfast do I make? And then there are so many factors coming into that decision. And then when I get to work, what do I work on? I have a certain goal in my mind, and what do I do next? What do I do next? What am I yes to? What am I no to? Which will waste my time? Which will be actually productive for my time? And then uh, there are like these are like trivial decisions that we make, and then there are the bigger decisions, which is, should I quit this job or should I stay for another 3 months until I get all my stocks vested? Should I quit this manager who just had a big blow up on me? Should I move to the city where I'll be closer to my family and I'll have a lot of support? Or should I stay here where I actually have some friends I really care about, but the weather is bad? uh, may or may not be talking from personal experience. So And then there are business decisions that we make, right? Like, should I hire this person? Should I cut out this scope for my team? Should I listen to this person's perspective? How much should I take that seriously? And how, I'm looking at my notes here, basically, should I engage with this customer or partner? Should I actually listen to the board? Should I listen to the team of executives? If you're a leader, let's say if you're a CEO and you get opinions from all directions about what to do, and then like, how do you make decisions? And the default way that we do this, which is pretty common, is like, there is like a risk analysis, cost benefit analysis, and then people take up studying cognitive biases, unconscious biases, and then we also we also sort of think about um, getting advice from experts, opinions from different people that we trust. And then we make like pros and cons list. All of these approaches are fine, but there is an inherent risk in just limiting ourselves to these approaches. It's very like, these are like very obvious things, right? And when there is a decision that's very important to us, we want to like do the best. Obviously our intention is that I want to make the best decision here possible. But then the catch is that half of the data that we are gathering needs to be more about our subconscious data rather than objective data. So lot of times we try to get other people's experience, perspectives, data, information, or how is this thing working, how did it work out for others, or what do I want, what are my priorities, what are my values, what are like, all of this is fine, but it misses a big chunk of information that is coming from our subconscious. It's not in our awareness at all. So I propose great decision making comes from understanding our own psychology and understanding our relationship to decisions. How do I always make decisions? How did it go in the past when I made that important big life decision? What did I do? Did I just go after it, after what I want, and then regret it? And then what happened? And in between, what happened? Right? So like, if we don't examine the patterns and our relationship to decisions and how it always goes, we can get like stuck in the same things that we did before in the past and hope for a different result in the future. So why that matters is that whenever we want to make a decision, there is an underlying assumption that if I make the right or wrong or like the best decision here possible, I am going to be more happy. Like, it's going to ensure or move me towards more happiness or a better experience of life. Now some people may not connect with happiness. Some people may connect with like joy, peace, more pleasure, more rich experiences of life, more aliveness, etc., etc., whatever like resonates with you. And then I thought I can look back in my life and see this is how, like, there was like an underlying lying assumption of, if I am able to do the right thing here, it's going to be make me more happy, or it's going to make sure that I'm doing my duty well, uh, or I'm aligning to my values. So there is like an experience I'm looking for, and it's important that I get clarity on what that experience is. So For those who are new to watching this and to my content, just like a small introduction or a backstory, that I used to work at Microsoft, and then I decided one day that I'm going to quit and I'm going to become a coach. So I consider that a really important decision in my life, because I was leaving a lot of steady income on the table, and then pursuing a solopreneur path, where first of all I had no idea what a coach does, and I did not know any coaches in my life. I did not know anyone else who became a life coach or a leadership coach or an executive coach, like no one at all. I've consumed content from some people, but like personally I didn't know anyone. And then second one, I had no idea or any experience in building a business, because building a solo practice means that I do my own marketing, my own sales. I need to know how to talk to people, how to have people enroll in a service that I'm offering, like all of that stuff. I have no idea. But then I'm like, yes, I wanted to be a coach. And then I quit my job, became a coach. And then, of course, my journey started, which was full of ups and downs and very rich. It's not that I don't regret, sorry, it's not that I regret my decision, but I am looking back and mapping how I made that decision and see my relationship to how I make decisions. So, how I make decisions, it seems, is that I decide that there is something I want, and then I go after it, and then after that I decide, okay, these are my goals. And then I get into this pattern where when what I want or I'm not moving towards my goals, um, there is a certain kind of like emotions and fear and a lot of stuff that comes up. And then I start either like working really hard or trying to make decisions to make that goal a success, as in like seek advice from experts or um, get other people's perspective, or just suddenly become helpless, like I don't know how I'm going to do this thing, somebody please help me, save me. So like this is I can see kind of this pattern everywhere else in my life, and this is how I approach decisions. So it's not just about my analysis and thinking before I make a decision. It The psychology comes up, um, even like what do I do and how I approach my decisions and how do I relate to my decisions and myself after I make the decision as well. So there is the before, during, and after that you need to consider and see the patterns playing. So I was talking about how we, like, the underlying assumption is about I'm going to be more happy if I make the right decision or the best decision here, right? So that kind of totally skips our mind, and we get like very caught up in the decision itself and the goal. So, okay, let's say I want a promotion. Okay. So then I'm like, what do I do every day? Or how do I approach my relationships or work so that I get a promotion? But the underlying assumption is that if I get if I do the best thing here, if I make the right decisions here, I'll get promoted, and then I'm going to have a blast of a life. Like my experience would be amazing. So that's an assumption, and we don't account that into the decision. It's really important that we also like distinguish and see what is the experience I want from this goal, and then include that in the goal. So, like if I say that, okay, I'm going to quit my job, um, or I am facing a decision whether I want to quit my job or not. So there is the goal. Uh, Ultimate goal is, let's say, if I quit my job, I'm going to find something that I'm more passionate about. I'm going to find a job that is more aligned with me. Then the assumption is that I'm going to be like more peaceful. So now the goal is not just about finding an aligned job, it's also about finding an aligned job and making my inner experience of life more peaceful. So that's like the combined goal. Now, so that's like an additional piece of information that we completely miss in the default approaches of decision making, right? Like cost benefit analysis, and I mentioned a few others. So it's not just, it goes to the old adage, right? It's not just about the goal, it's also about the journey. So that's why making decisions to include both of like the inner experience of life and the final goal of what you want is important. Now this is only half the story. So to really make great decisions, we need to move from just thinking about making rational decisions to think about making objective decisions. And we all there is like this whole study about how all decisions are emotional, even when we think they're not, they are, right? And there is a center, emotional center in our brain, and if we remove that, we can't even decide what to eat for breakfast, right? So emotions are a very important part of decisions, and so are three other parts. I'll just quickly tell you about what the three other parts are, but before that, I just want to say one more thing about the emotions, is that we think that, like, one of the common misconceptions and one of the common traps that people fall into, or like I hear this a lot, I don't want to make emotional decisions. Like we fall into that. We think that we can avoid emotional decisions, but that's not possible because of what I just said. Like, all decisions are emotions. And then our goals are always having like an assumption of the emotional experience that we want from achieving that goal. So there is emotions involved every step of the way, and we cannot completely cut out the emotions. The wiser thing to do is to acknowledge and recognize that, okay, these are the emotions that I want to experience and that are coming into my way here, and like take them as reality and data, instead of making emotions bad, or making emotions as something to avoid while making decisions, or reacting from emotions. So let's say I'm like really angry at my manager. There is a difference between saying, um, I'm really angry at this person, how dare they do this to me, so I'm never going to interact with them again. That's a decision you make, right? So I'm going to quit my job. Versus, huh, there is anger right now. I wonder what's causing the anger, and um, what does this mean? Like, what is anger trying to tell me here? From there, it happens that you can actually make a better judgment of, should I quit my job or not? Okay, there is anger. And is this a persistent anger? Does this mean that I need to draw a boundary, or there is a message I need to communicate? Or does it mean that this is a person I absolutely do not have capacity to deal with, so I'm going to quit my job? So there's like taking emotions as data versus reacting from those emotions. And what happens is that if we are ready to feel any emotion, we can make amazing decisions. Lot of times we feel stuck because there are certain emotions we want to avoid, and certain emotions that we want to move towards. So usually it's the negative emotions. I never want to feel angry, I never want to feel ashamed, I never want to feel hurt, and that is why I'm never going to do certain things. I'm never going to um, go public speaking because that triggers a lot of anxiety for me, that triggers a lot of fear and shame. So I'm never going to do that, and I'm going to do something else. So like emotions influence our decisions a lot if they are not data, and if we are not welcoming them fully and allowing them to exist as reality for us, as part of our experience. So that's part one to making great decisions, including emotions into your experience. Second part is desires. Our desires determine our goals, and often our desires are kind of like mimetic in nature, as in somebody else does a thing, like somebody else has a car and that looks super cool, and I also want a car, so I am going to work extra hard so that I get more money, and then I can buy that car. Nothing wrong with that, it's a great one. But then, is that really what you want? Right? Is that your true desire, or is it coming from somebody else's experience? So being in touch with your own desires is and being like getting really clear on what you want is super important to making better decisions. Otherwise our life will go in circles and we never reach that inner experience that we want. It's always going to be ephemeral or always out of reach. That is the second part. And then the third part is fear. When I say fear, there are two types of fears I have distinguished in my own process. One is social fears, which is fear of judgment, criticism, fear of doing the wrong thing and appearing a certain way, like fear that my employees are going to judge me as a bad leader, fear that I'm going to really screw this up, fear that nobody can ever trust me. So these are all in relation to other people. These are all social fears, and these influence our decision making a lot. And there is another type of fear, which is holding our identity together in place as well. For me, that fear all kind of looks like I'm a reliable person. Like that's my identity. That's part of my identity. And if there is any point or anything I do that seems like I am not a reliable person, what my fear does is kind of like shift everything to make sure I'm reliable, committed, and I am whatever other things that I identify myself as. So this is like a deeper fear that is very hard to detect and puts our whole life together. So I'm always trying to prove to everybody else or even to myself and trying to validate that I'm a reliable person, I'm a smart person, I'm a committed person, and I'm a this kind of a person or I'm that kind of a person. And it almost always influences how I decide, how I speak, how I act, how I listen, everything. So that's the third part. And then the fourth part is a frame of thinking. I have gone into this in my last show, So I won't go much deeper into this, but frame of thinking is basically like the vantage point or the glass that I see the world through. It determines the beliefs I have about the world, about how the world works, and how um, what are the possible actions available to me. And it's like the glass I'm looking through. So if I believe that I can only get money through working hard, I will see proof for that everywhere. So an example of this is like it works so it's like kind of magic in a way. I'll tell you why. When I was pregnant, all I saw was pregnant ladies everywhere. Does it mean that I didn't see pregnant ladies before? No. Does it mean that I don't notice pregnant ladies after? There are no pregnant ladies after my pregnancy? No. But it's just that uh, when I am in a certain state, I kind of notice and gather proof to validate that state again and again. So we are always trying to validate our beliefs. We act, listen, and speak, and receive information to validate the beliefs that we have, and that determines the context and the lens through which we look at the world. And this lens affects our decisions so much. Okay, so those are the four parts that we need to examine while making decisions. One is emotions, second, desires. Emotions determine how we get distracted from our goals and from the things we want. Second, desires. Desires actually determine the goals. Then the third is fear. This fear is less about social fear but more about the base fear through which I build my identity. And this fear determines how we stop ourselves and how we actually not get the things we want. And then the third one is the vantage point or the frame of thinking. This is built um, from our past, like childhood, and how we survived our childhood, and what got us attention and love. And as I grew up and as I went about the world, what made me fit in, and what kind of helped me get what I want in the world. What is the worldview that helped me again and again? That determines my frame of thinking and the context that I'm in. So, and this context determines the patterns that we get into again and again. This is what um, decides your relationship to decisions. All these four things. All right, so that's kind of like a quick overview about my thinking around how to make great decisions. um, I find myself very interested in this topic. I want to kind of like, I made a bunch of assertions today, and I want to kind of go out, test these assertions, and really be with people as they are making great decisions. So I'm doing a few things. One is I just launched a 50 decision making process reviews project. That's a long name, but basically what it is I'm offering 50 coaching sessions, or actually I'm offering one coaching session to 50 people, and the project is about having 50 people reviewing 50 decision making processes. And I'm doing that to learn more about how people make decisions, where they get stuck, how they kind of go through the process, and like really help them cause powerful shifts in the way they relate to decisions and how they make good decisions. So that's something I'm doing. And if that feels like something you want to be part of, you want some help and support around shifting how you make decisions, and you deal with a lot of complexity, ambiguity, and uncertainty, this might be helpful for you. So send me a DM on LinkedIn or Twitter, and we can connect and see if this is something that I can support you with. That is the first thing. And second thing I'm doing is I'm doing a live coaching series with my coach, Adam Quiney, and I'm going to announce that in the coming weeks. Um, there we kind of like get together and help people make better decisions on the spot, so it's like spot coaching. So look out for that. And that's all I had for today. This was more of an introduction, and I'll be talking and diving more into decision making in the coming months, sorry, in the coming weeks. And if you have any questions, or if you feel like something didn't land or something really landed for you, please, I would love to know. Because one of the things that I observe in my live shows is that I open certain threads, and in the moment of speaking, I actually forget to like close them. So a few things don't make sense. A few things people say that they land really well. So for your however you received it, I want to know what landed, what didn't land, what was great, what was kind of like confusing. So send me a message, I would love to hear from you. So that's all for today, and I will see you again next Friday, diving a little more deeper into how to make better decisions, and also um, diving into one of these aspects, and then also talking about like infinite games, coming up with an infinite game and principles, so that they can guide your decisions. I think that's a very important topic that not a lot of people talk about, so I'll be talking about that. All right, tune in next week. Thank you for hanging out, and have a great weekend. Bye.